wait. This is pretty impressive. I'm RJ Hawk with the Little Rock Touchdown Club. A historic day. This is back-to-back years now that we have had a capacity crowd here at the Wally Allen Ballroom. Round of applause to David Basil and everybody else to make Brett Favre here in Little Rock today. Okay, with that being said, if everybody will turn their attention to the back of the room, Debbie Wyman and Wes Sutton, they said they were almost there. We're going to give Brett Favre, he's going to make his way in the back of the room. We're going to give him a big Little Rock welcome when those doors open up. He's been to Little Rock one time. And you need to say something?
Yeah, by the way, this is the 20th year of the Little Rock Touchdown Club. We've had 250 speakers. This will be the first speaker that walks in shorts and a T-shirt. Boom, only Brett Favre, only Brett Favre.
Only Brett Favre. So, Chris Kane, I'm going to wait on your cue. I know that he's out there wrapping up the radio, but I want to get, whenever he was telling us just a moment ago that he'd only been to Little Rock one time, it was kind of shocking. He said, he's driven through, but he's never stopped. And he goes, is it cooler in Little Rock than it is in Hattiesburg? It's more northern. I said, no, Brett, it's still 100. It's still hot. So we are waiting for him to wrap up with the radio. They said they were done, y'all. I wouldn't have told everybody to get quiet. They sent me a text that they were done. We're probably going to have everybody on this middle row. He's going to come right down this middle row right here. So I'm going to have you just kind of scoot in. We'll all stand up and give him a round of applause as Chris Kane's going to pull him out. Alicia, would you grab Chris and tell him to... Yeah.
This row needs to stay seated. Those guys need to stand up.
Hey, by the way, if you want these banners that are down here, if you want to get a raffle ticket, we're going to be auctioning these banners. We've got 2 of them. We will be auctioning those off at the end of the meeting. So if you've not gotten your 50-50 raffle or whatever the raffle is for that Little Rock Touchdown Club banner, find one of the Little Rock Touchdown Club volunteers out here on the outside. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll move your attention to the back of the room, let's welcome NFL Hall of Famer, former Green Bay Packer, Brett Favre.
All right, we'll allow everybody to keep coming in. What a great day this is. We have been really blessed at the Little Rock Touchdown Club to have some of the greatest to ever play the game of football. We started this club because, Rex, we thought this community loved football so much that this would be a hit. We had no idea that in 20 years that this is what would be happening, and some of the best broadcasters and personalities would say this is one of the best, if not the best, touchdown clubs in America. So thank you for helping us move from the DoubleTree down here today. I can be real honest with you. We lose money when we come down here. We lost money with Peyton Manning. We're going to lose money today. But here's the way we look at it. We want as many people in the room to get a chance to hear one of the greatest of all time. And that's what it's about, right? It's about having a great experience, and that's what the Touchdown Club is about. So really appreciate Brett taking time to be here. He's getting ready to do some hunting prep in Kansas. He's excited about that. He managed to work his way to say, I can come through Little Rock and be a part of your deal. Keith Jackson sort of twisted his arm, I think, a little bit. We got Keith here in the room right there. But we're going to have a fun time. Why don't we go ahead and do this? I think we're okay. I know that some people are still going through the lines, which is okay. What we'll do, let's go ahead. Pigskin, will you come up and lead us in a word of prayer? We'll go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and let everybody continue to go through the lines, too.
Join me in prayer, please. Father, we're thankful for the wonderful day. We're grateful for this occasion, for so many to be here, to meet old friends and make new friends. Father, we're thankful with the new season, for the great sport of football, for the community, and for the lessons that are learned therein. Father, we give you thanks for the food, for life itself. We pray your blessings upon the further exercises of this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Just out of curiosity, how many Green Bay Packers fans are here today? Wow, Debbie's giving me 2 plates of food. Since, Brett, you may have missed that, how many Green Bay Packer fans do we have here today? Not bad at all. Pigskin, thanks for that prayer. I did want to mention real quick, last week I mentioned one of my teammates, and Keith Jackson knows who he is. Daryl Mason passed away last week, and I did not realize that he was the brother of Jesse Mason. And so my apologies, Jesse. I had no idea that he was a great teammate, one of the great tight ends at Arkansas, one of the great tight ends at Parkview, so I just did want to mention that. I want to remind everybody to mute your phones if you could. You can watch online at myarkansaspbs.com, lrtouchdown.com, Touchdown Club YouTube page, Facebook, Twitter, 1037 The Buzz. You can listen live there. So pretty much is that if you want to hear Brett Favre today or see him, you're going to get a chance to do that. Has anybody noticed that some of the fight songs that are being played, do you like it? Well, there are some that you probably don't like. So, Brett, the way we do that is that anybody who's a speaker coming in, we usually play either their college fight song for Green Bay. We did play Southern Miss. We played the Green Bay fight song, which I think is Go Pack Go. But there is one that I just have to do this. It's the Texas Longhorn deal, but for Colt McCoy. But anyway, if you wonder that was the case. Hey, thanks for everybody who's joined. If you haven't joined, and I encourage you to do that. Every little bit helps. For the 15-week schedule that you do, the memberships are not real expensive. Also, the ones that allow you to vote in the College Football Hall of Fame. Dan Hampton's going in this year because enough people voted for him going in. So. If you haven't join those ones where you can also vote at the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame or the National College Football Hall of Fame. Let's go ahead and thank our our sponsors real quick. I do want to thank here at the head table Chris White and Jay Brogdon. Simmons Bank couldn't do it without you guys. They were involved in obviously going to get Brett today on the front end. We could not be where we are. We couldn't be one of the best touchdown clubs in America if not for Simmons Bank. And so they have helped us raise the bar like no other sponsor in America. So Chris, Jay, thank you so much for your support. Stevens, this is the first year we've had Stevens involved, and I think it was last year when Warren Stevens and Warren Simpson came in and go, we need to be involved with the Touchdown Club. I want to remind everybody, next week, Rex, have you ever been in a Formula One racing car before? Next week, from September 5th to the 22nd, they've got Beyond the F1 Circuit, Artistry and Speed with Williams Racing. Is an exhibit at the museum right down the street here. They've got a Williams racing car and a driver's race suit and helmet. So check that out. The Buzz will be broadcasting there. So thanks to Stevens. We appreciate them. Oklahoma Hot Springs, saw Wayne Smith today. I was introducing Wayne to Brett and his buddies to say, you guys need to make a trip to Hot Springs and enjoy the casino and enjoy the horse racing. And I think they might. They're a fun group of guys. Also looking forward to making my bets, Zach, here soon. This week, this will be the first week. I'm glad I did not bet on Georgia Tech, Florida State. I'm not sure if I'd have gotten that one right or not, but thanks to Oakland Hot Springs. We appreciate them. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, appreciate all the folks, one of the best law firms in America. Also, y'all know Judy Henry has been the cornerstone for us in our relationship with Williams, Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Her son, got to give congrats to Joseph Henry. He's the offensive coordinator and assistant head coach for Florida A&M. They played this past weekend, came back from a halftime deficit to beat Norfolk State 24-23. So great job there, Joseph, and proud of him. Exactly right. Let's give him a round of applause. He's going somewhere. He's going somewhere. Also, some great news from our next sponsor, Crane Automotive. The Crane Automotive team has purchased 500 tickets for the Razorback game at War Memorial Stadium and has donated them to the Boys and Girls Club of Central Arkansas. Yes. This was Christian Crane's idea to help kids of Central Arkansas be able to see the Razorbacks play that otherwise may not get the opportunity. Christian, great idea. Love it. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. That's the most important thing, is getting kids maybe who've never had a chance to go to a Razorback game. Thank you for doing that and for Crane Automotive support. Sissy's Log Cabin, 54 years, Bill and Sherry Jones, Jim Englehorn, thanks so much for your support of the Touchdown Club. Double B, Steve Lytle and Ed Light, couldn't do it without you. 34 locations throughout the Central Arkansas and Northeast Arkansas. Thank you, Double B's. Summerwood Sports, the Hendricks family, couldn't do it without you. Their sports complex, Summerwood Sports Complex, is one of the best in the nation and continues to grow. Roller Funeral Homes, Renata Jenkins Byler, 24 locations across the state. No one will take better care of you and your family than Roller Funeral Homes. Advantage Service Company, one call does it all. I will mention Kevin a little bit later, Kevin Brooks, for a very special introduction we're going to make that you're going to love. But thanks to Kevin, thanks to Advantage Service Company. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall and Amanda Copley. All 20 years they've sponsored us. We will start, Amanda, with our All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week next week, I believe, because high school football starts this weekend, thanks to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. The Hatcher Agency and Twin City Limo, Greg Hatcher is up here to my left. He's also been very involved in helping us get Brett here and to his next stop. But also I want to point out real quick, Greg is to my left. His son Lane, and if those of you that have been a Touchdown Club member for a while, so we have honored Lane. Lane, we honored you, I think, back when you were maybe a sophomore in high school at PA. And I was telling Brett about some of the numbers on Lane. He finished his career as the Arkansas High School football's all-time leader in passing yards. I think you were number one in the nation. 15,483 yards in his career, 185 touchdowns, 4 state wrestling championships. Then he goes on to play in college, over 10,000 yards passing in his college career. And so, Lane, we're glad to have you now with us. As a businessman, you can see him looking great. But I want to give a special round of applause to Lane Hatcher and Greg Hatcher. We would talk about you, Lane. You weren't even here. We would talk about what you would do from week to week. So really proud of you. Simmons Bank Arena. If Brett wanted to stick around tonight, you got Chicago and Earth, Wind, and Fire. If he wanted to stick around and watch that concert, Chris Stapleton was awesome last week. Thanks to Simmons Bank Arena. Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Todd Dennis and Stephen Reichert, 75-plus years of excellent service. Give them a shot at your business. Rex War Memorial Stadium, 76 years they've been around. John Latch, Mark Pike, Kevin Crass, Shay Lewis, get your tickets for Thursday night. We don't get many of these games, and if you're not going to go, buy some tickets for somebody that can go. Buy some tickets for somebody that can go. We appreciate War Memorial Stadium's support of the Touchdown Club. Arkansas Urology is National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Guys, get checked. They screen more than 5,000 men at their kickoff to Men's Health. Please be a part of that this year. Thanks to Arkansas Urology. They also sponsor our live broadcast that Brett was on just a minute ago. 103.7 The Buzz. Appreciate Roger Scott and Justin Moore, Josh Neighbors, our show in the morning, Morning Mayhem, for sponsoring me with this Touchdown Club. And Thanks to Terry Mayhem and Justin Acre for their support. AY Media, AY Magazine, Arkansas Money and Politics, Heather Baker, thank you for your passionate support. Arkansas PBS, raising the bar with what they're doing with our broadcasts each week. Some of the most talented people in broadcast taking care of us each week. The DoubleTree Hotel, thanks for allowing us to come down here and make this work. Couldn't do without you. And JF Media and Marketing, Alicia Flynn and Jeremy Flynn doing a great job with all of our social media. So that's a lot of sponsors, but we can't do guys like Brett Favre without all those sponsors. So let's give them a big round of applause, if you will. So once Brett told me that he was wearing shorts and a T-shirt, I said, "Hey, I'm going a Razorback baseball uniform." And so, but here's the deal: I still sweat. I still sweat. And yeah, I told Brett about the Sam Pittman belt story. I did. It's okay, Brett. You know, look how good he looks. Look at him. He looks like he can still play. He's got veins in his arms. Look at him. He's all lean. Talk about how far he biked the other day. I think he biked 100 miles somewhere the other day or something like that. And you just. It doesn't mean he can play. That's right. That's okay. I do want to thank Dwayne Duncan, our photographer, over 10 years, Chris Kane and R.J. Hawk for their support of the Touchdown Club, our amazing volunteer team, the best in America, Debbie Wyman, our executive director. Let's give those volunteers a big round of applause, if you will. So these two? All right, so here's two winners of the giant, what would you call pop-ups of Brett Favre, brought to you by Rockstar Passes. Here's the number. You win it, 04, and they're signed by Brett, 041008. 041008. Do we have a winner? All right, very nice, very nice. Congratulations. The other one is 041189. 041189. Do we have a winner? 041189. Going once? I see a hand back in the back. All right, come up and claim your, give them a round of applause for, thanks for Brett for signing those. All right, we say we're the best touchdown club in America. Nobody does a weekend recap like our guy, Rex Nelson. No weekend recap today, but he just wanted about 60 to 90 seconds to talk about this weekend. So let's give it up for the best in the nation, Rex Nelson, everybody.
Thanks, David. And finally, the week we have been waiting for, college football season starts in Arkansas. Thank you for coming out today. We really appreciate it. As David said, Brett, this club is an amazing story. We started with 17 people 20 years ago. We have built what many now say, and you can look around this room, is the top football club in America, here in a city of 200,000 people. And what I wanted to say very quickly today is something serious. And I usually don't get serious up here, as you know. Football's fun. And I try to keep it fun, and we'll have fun with the recap next weekend. But something very serious. And that is, we are the Little Rock Touchdown Club. We want college football to stay in Little Rock. And if college football is going to stay in Little Rock, it's largely going to be up to the people who are in this room today. You are the fans. So I want to challenge you to do something. When you leave this room today, go online and buy 3, 4, 5, how many you think you can give away, tickets to Thursday night's nationally televised game. We need that to look good. We need the stands to be full. Excuses are easy, and I've heard all the excuses. It's a school night. It's hot. Hell yeah, it's hot. It's August in Arkansas. Is that something new? It's not going to be close. No, it's probably not going to be close. But we exist to support football, all the programs, and we have a chance to support our flagship university and our public HBCU program at the same time. So go order those extra tickets. I know you've already got yours, but go order those extra tickets and give them to friends and relatives to introduce them to the joy of college football. And then there's an amazing thing that's happened this year. In a 3-day period, you have a chance to see all 4 of our Division I programs here in the state of Arkansas. So plan a road trip to Jonesboro on Saturday and see Arkansas State against UCA. Like I said, and especially on Little Rock games, it's not going to happen in the future unless you make it happen now. So get out of the house, get off the couch, and do what my family's going to do. Go see not 1, but 2 college football games this week. We're off and running. Football season in Arkansas. Thanks for your help.
How many years, Rex, hold on, Rex has been the voice, Brett, it's pretty amazing. Ouachita Baptist is where Cliff Harris played. I told you about back then, NAI. How many years will this make you being the voice of OBU? 41 years. 41 years of doing that. How about that? That's worth a round of applause. All right, it is time to get to our special guest. I hope everybody has a good view, whether it be the screen or up here up front. We have had some great speakers. Think about some of the speakers we've had. The great Roger Staubach, Mike Ditka, Terry Bradshaw, Peyton Manning. We've had, just to name a few, Earl Campbell. Are you kidding me? Earl Campbell, just to name a few of some of the great names we've had. You can make the argument that our guest today is the greatest to ever play the game because he played it in a unique way. He sort of changed the way the game was played. You see some guys maybe now playing it that way, but before Brett Favre came along, you didn't see the kind of emotion, energy, happiness, and enthusiasm he played with. So we're really, really excited to have him here. So I want you to listen to Steve Sullivan's intro. Listen to the numbers because Brett Favre was the first to do a lot of this. He was the first to hit some of these numbers that you'll hear. Some numbers that he has there's one number that will never be broken, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's go to Steve Sullivan for our introduction of our special guest today.
September 10th, 1987, a 17-year-old who started the year as the 7th-string quarterback comes off the bench to lead Southern Miss to a come-from-behind win over Tulane. Fast forward to 1990, 2 months after nearly being killed in a car accident, Favre led Southern Miss to a comeback win over Alabama.
Takes, looks to throw, guns the left side of the end zone, and it's diving grab, caught in the corner of the end zone, touchdown Green Bay!
They say for an NFL quarterback, availability may be the most important ability. Brett Favre made an NFL record 321 consecutive starts. He did it while playing at an elite level. You're looking at the first NFL quarterback to pass for 70,000 yards, complete 6,000 passes, throw for 500 touchdowns, and record wins over all 32 teams in the NFL. This 3-time most valuable player led the Packers to 7 division titles, 4 NFC championship games, and 1 Super Bowl title. Please welcome the former quarterback for Mississippi's Hancock North Central High School, NFL Hall of Famer, Brett Favre.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, it's. I was telling Brett. I said, I know you get these reactions in Mississippi and Green Bay and all the places you go, but never been to Little Rock. And how about this? I mean, we had to move venues for folks wanting to come see you.
This is awesome. Very impressive. Long as I get more than Peyton Manning. I will call Peyton right after this and say I had 500 more people than you did. Now, Peyton's a good friend.
Yeah, he was great last year. One of the things I want to do right off the bat, 2 things. I want to introduce your guests that are here with you, your brother Scott Favre and your good buddy Lloyd Nico. If they would stand, I had no idea where they're sitting, but stand. Let's give them an Arkansas welcome.
My buddy Lloyd, you can give him all the hell you want. He's an Ole Miss guy. Makes me want to puke. But I love him. But.
And your brother is funny. We were talking on the plane ride down, and do want to thank again Simmons Bank and for doing the extra, and Greg Hatcher for making this work. But you guys love talking football. You know, Lloyd played, your brother played. It was sort of what you grew up doing, so it's fun to talk about it.
Yeah, well, my dad coached high school football. He was the head coach at Hancock North Central for 35 years, and we often tell a story. So Scott, my older brother, is roughly 3 years older. My dad, for some reason, threw a lot with him. Then I came along, and he ran the wishbone, and I think I threw for 200 yards. Nothing near what Lane threw for. And I think the 200 yards were probably broken plays that were run plays. And then my younger brother came along, and he threw it again. So, you know, if my dad were here, he'd say, it worked out pretty good for you.
It worked out okay. It did.
I can't argue with it. But, yeah, we all three played for our dad. It was a small school back then, graduated about 100.
Well, we're glad to have him here. I think the next thing I want to do, you know, I was talking on the plane about, and I've told my friend Justin Moore, who's, you know, got 12 #1 hits, and talking about how celebrity and fame and success allows you to do special things for people, which aren't a big deal for you, but really mean a lot to others. And so thanks to Kevin Brooks, he sent me a Twitter video of, it was back in, I think it was around October, I think, in 2022. So let's take a look at this Twitter video, if we can, Anita, of Brett Favre saying a special hello to a young man by the name of Cole Bright.
Hey, Cole, it's Brett Favre. Look, I want to thank you for being a fan, but I'm a fan of you. You keep fighting. You're an inspiration to so many, and a lot of people are pulling for you and praying for you. So keep the fight going, my man. We're pulling for you.
Brett Favre sent you a video.
Amazing.
Wow.
What do you think?
That's so cool. I can't believe it.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
So thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
So Cole, yeah. So Cole had osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer in his wrist. 1 in 3 survive. No new treatment has been developed in over 40 years. He was diagnosed on October 21st, 2022. Treatment began 3 days later. 18 rounds of chemo, 2 surgeries, 87 nights in the hospital. 10 months later, he was told he was cancer-free. Yes, that's right. He rang the bell. He rang the bell being cancer-free August 2nd, 2023, just celebrated a year in remission. And the best thing is that Cole Bright and his parents are here today. Cole, stand up, but can we turn up the lights? Where's Cole at? Where's Cole at? Where's he at? Come here, Cole. Come here. Come here. Walk up there. Walk up there. Look at the crowd. Look at the crowd. So we just wanted to say congratulations on beating cancer. How cool was it to have Brett Favre send that video?
Ooh, it was something. I mean,
Not as cool as it is to be here with you right now.
yeah, I mean, I didn't even know what to say then. I mean, like, it was like, I always, he's like, well, he's always a person that I kind of looked up to, and to have a video from him, it was something that really helped me, like, have the energy to, like, push through it and get through the tough times that I had, and it was hard, but just the people that were there for me, such as
He's a heck of a lot tougher than I am.
Let's give it up for Cole Bright, everybody. Congratulations. I say too. I would imagine the Cole became pretty popular in school that he had a video from you. But that kind of thing, Brett. We talked football all the way down here and talked hunting and all that kind of stuff, and that's important. That's fun. But how cool is it to just play a little role in that kind of situation with that young man?
That's what it's all about, really. Me and my wife, when I was with Green Bay, every Friday we would have a Make-A-Wish kid come in. And Scott obviously can attest to this. My mother for 35 years, was a special education teacher. And we just learned a long time ago, that first of all, bigger and better than anyone. And, doing things like that, that's to make a difference in someone's life and not really have to work too hard for it is really a special thing.
Yeah. Great to see that great head of hair on that young man,
Yeah.
too. So the girl's going to be chasing him. The other part that was neat about you coming here is that you were excited. And one of the reasons you're here was we made the connection, obviously, through my old buddy, Keith Jackson. And let's take a look at some pictures. This is you and Keith playing ball. I love this. Look at what a stud number 88 is. That's Keith right there to the right. What a stud. Let's go to the next one there, Anita. So that's obviously you completed a touchdown to Keith. He's happy about that.
He probably ran the wrong route. Well, I say wrong. It worked, so it was right.
This next one was from his Super Bowl, y'all's Super Bowl. I thought that was great. That was, you talked about Keith is known having played for the Eagles and the Dolphins, but that was a Super Bowl that meant a lot to him. And let's give our man Keith Jackson a big round of applause for he's here right here. So now, he told me also that you would acknowledge and confirm that he was one of the most dominating blockers that you had ever seen in your career.
Well, I don't know what day it was upon arrival in Green Bay, but he said, I draw the line at blocking. I'm here to run routes and score touchdowns. I don't block.
You said that there are two players that sort of called their shot as far as what they were going to do. One was Keith Jackson. Who was the other one?
Deion Sanders. When I was with him in Atlanta, he called me country. He said, country, they don't pay me to tackle. they pay me to cover. I think he had two tackles that year.
The other person that's here that some people may not be aware of, one of your old teammates, is Tyrell Johnson. I believe he's from Rison, right? Got that right. I think Rison, we played his high school ball. Played at Arkansas State. Had a nice career with the Vikings. I think we got a shot of that, Anita, of both Brett and Tyrell. And obviously you were excited about being able to see him. He's coaching at Bryant High School now.
Tyrell was our safety. Great guy. A lot like Keith, great teammate. Just a good person, but really a good player.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate. I played 20 years and just and I said this to someone about a year ago. I said, they asked me if I missed a game, and really, from the time I retired, I didn't miss the game. I missed the players. So that's what you miss, and I think Keith and Tyrell would probably attest to that.
I made mention. Just there's some more Green Bay connections. You guys know Anthony Lucas, who was going to try to make it today. He was drafted as a rookie. I think maybe the last year you were at Green Bay, got hurt, didn't get a chance to really interact with you much, but he has a lot of respect for you. He's the head coach at Pulaski Academy. DJ Williams, who you were out there on the show with him, and Justin Akery. And DJ was a fifth-round draft choice for the Packers, stayed a couple years there. Leotis Harris, you guys remember Leotis Harris? He was All-American at Arkansas. Was drafted by the Packers in 1978. His son, Leotis Harris Jr. is here. I think it was the fifth round. He was an All-American. Then you had Greg Cook. You guys remember Greg Cook, 1977 to 1985 with the Packers. He played under Frank Broyles. He's in the Packer Hall of Fame. And then a guy I know, Jesse Clark, that I played with. All these guys are Packers, and it's sort of weird how that sort of works, over time. And the Packers are something very special, and that bond, I would imagine, is special for those that played for that organization.
Well, it's a very unique organization. There's not an owner. It's owned by the people. That's, I think, the only of its kind. And I remember when they had the first stock sale. Bob Harlan was the president, and can't remember the year. I think it was maybe 95, and some may know better than I, but 95, 96, you know, when we were really at our peak. And I think that first stock sale sold 20 million. And since then, it's, you know, it's unbelievable. And the facilities and the town and everything. I mean, imagine starting a professional franchise today and going to Green Bay and saying, this would be a good place to start. It would never even get that far. But nonetheless, it has thrived more than I think any franchise in professional sports, especially when you drive through Wisconsin. You know, it's a great place. And then you go to Green Bay, and at the time there were 75,000 or so that lived there. And now on game day, you got more people in the stands than you have in the city. I mean, it's an incredible place to play. And I was fortunate to do it for 16 years.
One of the things I shared with Brett is about our awards. Cliff Harris, Dan Hampton, Willie Rofe, obviously Darren McFadden, but especially Cliff Harris, Dan Hampton, and Willie Rofe, who are Kansas that are all now Gold Jacket winners. And I thought you said, hey, there's value in when you can recognize people from your home state like those three guys.
Well, Arkansas is loaded with, you know, and lately I've paid more attention to them in baseball. Southern Miss has had a good baseball program, but, you know, historically, football, well, Arkansas has been, you know, up there in the top in their sports. And, you know, going back in their basketball years, I mean, Arkansas is loaded with talent, which makes me wonder how Keith Jackson got to Oklahoma.
So, yeah, by the way, you did.
Was there NIL back then?
In Oklahoma, there was.
K-Jack was worth every penny they paid for him. If they did that, I'm just saying.
We're getting Barry Switzer back this year for the 60th anniversary.
Barry will tell the truth.
Of the national championship team. The last time he was here, I thought he said it about Keith Jackson. Somebody said he said it about Billy Sims, but he said the statute of limitations were up. He said this from the mic. He goes, best $20,000 he ever spent. It was either on Keith Jackson or Billy Sims. I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, yeah, but you're right. It's a proud state, and let's talk about your beginning. You know, it's you have an interesting name in the way you spell your name, the way you pronounce it. Even the place you grew up, Kill, Mississippi, is not spelled the same way. It's K-I-L-N, right?
Yeah,
and that's
I suppose.
Yeah, and that is near Gulfport. It's near Bay St. Louis. Yeah, Bay St. Louis, and also 50 minutes from New Orleans.
Correct.
You know, Bruce James, All-American. Where's Bruce? Raise your hand, Bruce. Bruce was an All-American defensive end over there. Played against Archie Manning, but Moss Point, Mississippi. Yeah, so we got Bruce is a Panhandle guy or a Gulf Coast guy. I'm a Gulf Coast guy, and you're a Gulf Coast guy. Sort of different mentality growing up there.
Yeah, you know, Mississippi's got has put out some. You pull out my gate where I live now, and you drive 10 miles due west. You go to the home of Walter Payton, one of the greatest players that I've ever seen play. So Jerry Rice, North Mississippi, Crawford, Jackie Slater. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, unfortunately, a lot of our high school kids now go elsewhere, or Ole Miss, which is to me is elsewhere. You can see that my fondness for Ole Miss. But good football, good athletes in the state, and you know, I suppose if Southern Miss is not competing for the national championship, which may be tough, I'll pull for the other Mississippi schools.
I got you.
But yeah, we grew up on the Gulf Coast and grew up Saints fans. Archie was my hero. It was always next year. That's what those years with Archie were some lean years, but between Archie and Roger Staubach, that was my two. You
Yeah,
know,
we're gonna get to that in a second. It's interesting. Your dad. You mentioned your dad was a high school football coach. Your mother was a school teacher. You have both French Creole and Choctaw Native American in your lineage.
I don't know what that means, but
Your dad was a tough-nosed, the hardcore, hard-nosed football coach. There he is, right there. Listen, if that doesn't look tough-nosed to you,
well, and Scott knows. If you ever watched Gomer Pyle, and I'm dating
Sergeant
myself.
Carter.
Sergeant Carter was my dad. When he whispered, he yelled. There was never. We would ride home from football practice together. He had a little small Dodge D50 pickup truck that he could put 35 cents of regular gas in it, and it would get him back and forth to school and do it again the next day. But had he ever, which he didn't, but had he ever in that truck ride, which was about 20, 25 minutes, had he said, "How you doing, son? Are you doing good in school? Everything okay?" I would have passed out. There was never any, I always tell people he was short on attaboys and tough on get your ass back out there. You can do better than
Right.
that. That was kind of our back and forth. And what was funny is, as I said, I ran the wishbone. We didn't throw. So when I go to Green Bay and I become the starter and I'm starting to put up numbers and we're winning, my dad would always be at the game. He found a way to come to the game. And he wanted to ride in the truck with me to the game and then afterwards. Well, he had him a couple soda pops during the game. So he would get in the truck and he would say, "Well, you had a pretty good game, but you should have, those 3 incompletions, you should have." And I would say, "Dad, hold up. You never threw the ball with me, but you're going to tell me how to throw now?" "Well, hell, son, I'm just, I don't want to hear it." Yeah, it was interesting playing for him. He was harder on us. And I think, in his mind, he thought, I'm going to show favoritism to my boys, which, trust me, he did not show favoritism.
Let me show, go to 6 if you can, Anita. Just say, this was probably your beginning of your first. There's Pops putting on the football uniform there.
Got the crew cut going.
Got the crew going. Let's look at number 8, just some of Brett's youth pictures. There you are right there. And then I noticed as you got a little bit older, you got into high school. Let's look at number 11. You were starting to fill out a little bit.
Where y'all get this stuff?
And then the next one. This is him in a baseball uniform. I think you're starting to sort of fill out there at that point.
Yeah, our dad was also American Legion baseball coach. That was kind of his forte.
Yeah.
He grew up at Gulfport High School, great baseball, and that was actually my first love was baseball. And went to Southern Miss to play both. And started as a true freshman and just decided that that was too good to be true and stuck with it and didn't play baseball. But if you had asked me prior to going to college, which I thought I had a better chance of playing pro ball, it would have been baseball. So
Yeah.
Razorbacks didn't call me.
They did. And we're going to get to that in a second. And as a kid, you mentioned, you alluded to it earlier, that, if I had to do a book report on you right now, it'd be pretty good. I think I could probably, I spent some time reading up on you. I'd probably get a B out of it. But the 3 quarterbacks' names you mentioned as a kid growing up down there on the Gulf Coast. One, you mentioned Archie Manning. Show the picture, Anita. So look, you talk about tough. So this was one of your idols. He's got always wear that, that brace on his arm, and just was getting beat to crap, New Orleans was terrible, but he was always fighting. So that was one. And then the next one I read about, you said you saw this guy in the tunnel and said, Kenny Stabler, man, just loved the coolness, loved how he loved to play the game. And then the next one, as you alluded to, maybe you're
like the guy at the end of the bar.
What you said?
Kenny Stabler.
Yeah.
He had long hair and scruffy beard, and I talked about this at my Hall of Fame induction. The only game I ever went to, pro game, as a fan, was the last game of, I think it was 83 or 84, Scott probably knows better because we didn't know this, but my dad, which was shocking, he says, hey, you and Scott want to go to a Saints game? And we were like, yeah. He said, well, me and your Uncle Tim are going to take you. And I'm thinking, it's kind of weird. I mean, Dad was, the only time he would take us somewhere was to go to the barber shop and get our hair cut. So I thought it was a little odd, but we were fired up. And if they won that game, they go to the playoffs for the first time in history. They're playing the Rams in New Orleans. So we go to the game. Scott is 16. You turned 16 that day, is that right? So they were having a surprise party at our house for Scott. That's why we got to go to the game. We found out later. And, I'm all fired up. The Saints have a chance to go, to the playoffs, and Kenny Stabler walks out of the tunnel, and, he comes walking out, and I thought it was the greatest thing. They cheer, and I knew right then, I said, I want to, be a part of this somehow. Well, we lost. I say we lost the game. My dad and my uncle got drunk, and they're pissed off. And Scott has to drive home from New Orleans. Oh, no. Which, driving through New Orleans can be hairy. And we get back home. They have a surprise party. And that's when I started dating my soon-to-be wife. We actually knew each other way before, but that particular night, she didn't look like the most talented person on the playground. She looked a little different. I was like, whoa, okay. Want to play a little pickup basketball? But that was, that kind of sealed my, like I want to do this when I saw the snake come out. And
it's funny. So think about this. So he's mentioned Archie Manning, Kenny Stabler, and then the last you mentioned, you said maybe the biggest hero to you is Roger Staubach. And so I just think, you think about that. Think of the three names he just mentioned and the way they played football. Ironically, it's exactly what you turned out to be, maybe a combination of all of them, with confidence, with toughness, with creativeness. You had a little bit of all those guys in your career.
Yeah, I think I emulated Archie and not so much Kenny. I was always a fan of Kenny, but Roger and Archie were running around. In fact, I was thumbing through social media a couple weeks ago, and I saw one of Archie's underhand, hit the underhand. He was with the Oilers. He scrambles around, and he runs to the right, and he throws it. And I think Butch Johnson maybe caught it, and it was for 10 yards. But I remember seeing that when it happened, and I thought, I'm going to do that someday. Well, lo and behold, I've thrown them underhand. I've thrown over I've completed my first pass to myself. I've completed passes to the other team. I've done it, everything. So you can honestly say I've done just about everything.
I love the story. It reminds me of Cliff Harris a little bit. So you run the wishbone for your dad. You don't get a lot of looks because you don't get to throw the ball very much. You have one offer from Southern Miss. You take it. You're about 7th or 10th on the depth chart, and the third game of the year, you get a chance to go in against Tulane. You bring him back, and it almost mirrors your career in the NFL. Never let that position go. You end up beating Alabama and Gene Stallings. You beat Bobby Bowden, Florida State.
Pat Dye
at Auburn. And so you even though they were the only team that offered you, I think it's a great lesson to show to where just because that's the case doesn't mean you're not great, that you don't have that greatness in you.
No, you don't have to be drafted high. In fact, I play with a lot of guys and K-Jack can say the same thing. Tyrell can say the same thing. The first pick in the draft or the high picks in the draft, oftentimes I would find, a year or two later, I'm like, whatever happened to that guy? That happens very frequent. The same goes for college. For me, I just needed an opportunity, and that's all I wanted, just one opportunity. And I thought I could play. You never know, but I thought I could play. And I told myself many a time, if I ever get the opportunity, I'm never giving it up. And so there were times when early on in my career, that was, Holmgren was like, he
but
ready to pull the trigger, but I'm glad he did.
even before that, let's look at 1990. I think it was 1991 draft day, photo 16. This is you being drafted. I know you've been made fun of because of these shorts that you were wearing.
They were cool back then.
Everybody was wearing them back then.
I know all the people our age
I know,
wore
yes.
jorts.
That's right, the jorts, yes. You didn't have a deal with Wrangler at the time. You were wearing the Docker shirt, and you had the cool telephone with the antenna coming out of it. But you get drafted, number 33 in the draft, so almost a first rounder. You go to Atlanta, and you find out really quick that it's a bad situation. Jerry Glanville didn't want you. And he called you Mississippi, and you just had to fight your way through it. Again, a reminder, not everything has been perfect for you. You've been in a tough situation. But what's crazy about that, I love this part about your story. So you think maybe after a year that your value may be hurt. But Ron Wolf ends up going to Green Bay, hires Holmgren, and decides to spend a first-round draft choice on a guy the year before that was taken with a second-round draft choice that hardly played at all the year before. That's amazing that he saw something special in you.
And I told DJ on the radio show just a few minutes ago, I have to be the only player in NFL history to miss the team picture.
You missed the team picture. That was in
Atlanta, so that
Atlanta.
sort of sealed my fate.
What happened?
Well, I have to admit, Scott and I stayed out a little late that night. I wanted to go home, but Scott wanted to stay out.
Did you care that you missed the team picture at that point?
No, I cared, and I remember I had about a 45-minute ride to the Sewanee when it was back in Sewanee, and I lived like 10 to 15 miles away, but with traffic, I knew it was going. And I knew I was going to be breasting the tape as I pulled in. Traffic was a little worse, as I'm driving, I'm like, this is not good. So as I pull up into the facility, Jerry Glanville's leaving out. He had a van, and his wife and his kid were, and I remember thinking, the head coach is leaving. This is not good. And he rolls down the window, and I said, well, there was a wreck, and he said, you are a wreck. And I said, this is not very good. So he treated me like dirt from then on, and I said, okay. So I said, I'll drink as many beer as I want, eat all the hot wings I want, and I gained 25 pounds. Not good 25 pounds, and end up getting traded for a first-round pick and straightened up a little bit after that.
I think I want to show this. You go to Green Bay. Green Bay had no success for about 25 years. I think they had two playoff appearances. I think won one game in 25 years. It'd been since 1967 since they won a Super Bowl. So we forget Green Bay was in a bad place.
Yeah.
You come in and you have sort of a Wally Pipp moment, just like Brady had with Bledsoe, that Mikowski goes down. And so, Anita, I want us to play and just spend a couple of minutes. So you go into this game, Mikowski gets hurt against Cincinnati, and you have a terrible game. You got 4 fumbles. It was not a good game for you. But yet, at the end of the game, you're at the 8-yard line, 92 yards to go, I think with 1:07 left. And so I just want everybody to watch what happens here and what you saw, and listen to the broadcasters, what they sort of say. Watch the teammates and how they respond to Brett. But this was sort of the beginning of what Brett was the beginning of what was going to be an unbelievable run of 297 consecutive starts and a lot of playoff runs and a Super Bowl win.
The funny thing about that, and I thought you were going to show a close-up of the hold. I never had my hands on the ball. I did this before he kicked it. Honestly, it was the first time I ever held, so when I put the ball down right before he kicked it. And when Holmgren heard about that, he said, what are you doing? I said, I didn't want to get kicked. And he said, name a holder who's been kicked by the kicker. I'm still trying to find one, but... Anyway, But the funny thing about that game, and I don't want to say the actual word they said, but when I got in the huddle the first time, so Mikowski gets hurt, and I think it's right before halftime or right after halftime, I can't remember. So they go, you're going in. So I go out there, I'm full of piss and vinegar, as you can see. And we're down 17-3, but I thought, no big deal. So I get in the huddle and I go, and all 5 linemen were in their 30s. They're grumpy, and if you're familiar with linemen, they're grumpy. They moan and complain, and especially in their 30s. These guys, they want to run the ball and leave them alone. So I get in the huddle and I said, we're going to go down and score. And they said, shut the F up and call the play.
Call the play.
And I was like, okay, all right. They don't have the same excitement I have. But I got them. I got them going.
You got them excited
I got
at
them
the
going.
end. They were excited at the end.
At the end, they were like, all right, yeah, we'll buy into it.
And I think that gave the nation, it gave Packer fans maybe an idea of what this could be.
Keith Jackson, talking to Keith Jackson about Tracy Rocker, outstanding. I mean, when you see that stuff, you think maybe I should be doing the Manning cast and make it be a Favre cast instead of the Manning cast.
They can't say we didn't have fun. That's for sure. We had a lot of fun.
Walt Coleman, I don't know if you remember who Walt is. He called several of your games, and Anita, I think we've got, there's Walt right there. He said you were by far, more than any other player, a guy who had more fun playing the game than anybody else. He said he remembered one play in particular where you were running out of bounds, and a lineman came over to knock you out from the opponent's team, and he thought was definitely roughing you, unsportsmanlike conduct, through the flag. And little did he know that he was reviewed the next week, and it was actually you were the one that did the roughing of the defensive lineman. You were the one, but he got a mark. He got a negative mark for making the wrong call on that. But he said that's just the type of player you were.
I'm not opposed to throwing an elbow in there every once in a while if I can get by with it.
Now, this week, I don't know if you guys know this, but this Thursday night, I believe, Netflix has a special coming out called Concussed. And I don't know all the details about it, but I know that there's a picture of it right there. Painted a protocol, concussed. I know I've read where you've said, if you evaluated concussions the way they do today, back when you played, you would probably had over 1,000 concussions. So talk about what that show is going to be about and your struggle having to do it.
It's a documentary. And in fact, I had someone send me, right as I was eating, a 16-year-old quarterback in Georgia just recently died from a head injury in a game. So concussions are serious. They're very serious. And yeah, we look at them differently today, but we still, the same problems still exist. We don't really have a treatment. Helmets, like, I don't know if any of you ever saw the movie Concussion. Will Smith was in it, and he portrayed Dr. Benjamin Amalu, who was, I think, a coroner at the time in Pittsburgh, who discovered CTE. So I'm actually talking on a conference call with Dr. Amalu, and I asked him, when's a good time to play tackle football? And he sort of chuckles and he says, never. And he said, not to get very technical with you, but he said, the human head is not designed to do what a woodpecker, he used that as an example, and I thought, this is kind of weird, but he said, a woodpecker bangs on a pole in a tree all day, never gets a concussion. He said, the reason why is the brain is sort of built in like a cork. And when the head hits something and stops, the brain stops as well. Where the human head, most concussions, like for me, were when I hit the turf, the whiplash effect. He said, so when you hit something with your head, the head stops, the brain keeps going. So it's not designed, and that's where your bruising occurs. And that was really the first time I thought about it. But I think the NFL has done a good job of rule changes and things like that. But I think that they need to sink more money into finding a cure or a treatment, which we don't have.
Can you tell from a memory standpoint? Can you tell it is affecting you at this point?
It's hard to say, and I say this jokingly, when you turn 50, before you turn 50, you always hear parents well, you wait till you turn 50. Your damn eyesight goes and you forget your keys and they're in your hand, and that's all happened to me. So is it because I'm 50? Is it because I played 321 games? And maybe the answer is a little bit of both. It's, you're seeing more and more guys. ALS is something you see, and I've talked to several different neurologists, and they said the one thing we know about ALS, and it's been around a long time, is the more head trauma you have, the more chances you have of getting that or a neurological disease. So it's really frightening. And I have 3 grandsons that play soccer and baseball, and have been asked many times, will you, encourage them to play football? No. If they want to play, I'll support them, but I'm not going to encourage them to play it unless they want to.
The other part about that, and it's well documented, and one thing about you, you're pretty honest about stuff to the point where, hey, sometimes in life things don't go well. You got to work your way through them, and you got hooked on Vicodin, and sort of gave America a heads up what was coming with, the addiction that we have with opioids.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing that you were able to function. I think you were taking 15 Vicodin a pop at one time, just trying to deal with the pain of it. And but you fought your way through that, which I think was pretty amazing.
Well, I went to rehab 3 times, which a lot of people didn't know this. The one time that people knew about was right prior to the year we won the Super Bowl. And you're right, I was taking 16 Vicodin ES at one time every night. And you graduate up to that. I didn't take that. Initially, it was 1 or 2. And Reggie had separated my shoulder in a game in Milwaukee, and that was the first time I took pain pill, and I liked the way it made me feel after the fact. And so it progressively got worse and worse and worse, and to a point, and I've talked about this, and I know people, it kind of grosses me out. Like I would be out in a bar, which that was a long time ago, and I would take these pills, and sometimes I'd be in the bathroom, and I would vomit because I got to where I could. 16 pills is hard to swallow at one time, and I would throw them up, and would pick them up out of the throw up. That's the what addiction can do to you. And I knew at the time, this ain't good. But yet, I had won 3 MVPs in a row, and part of me was like, well, I'm doing something right. But meanwhile, I was definitely heading in the wrong direction. I had 2 seizures. One was the day before a game, and one was in routine ankle surgery right after the season. And normal people just don't have seizures. So that was really the red flag that kind of got everyone's attention. And people who have suffered with addiction, like myself, you think you're the only one that knows. I really thought no one had a clue what I was doing, when everyone knew that something wasn't right. And I'm just the first stint in treatment. I went to Topeka, Kansas, a Menninger Clinic, spent 73 days, and told them they didn't know what they were talking about, fought the system. And I'll never forget the day I was walking out, all I remember, the nurse's name was Kim. And I walked out, and I was like, see ya, and she said, you'll be back. And I was like, yeah, right. Well, a year later, I was back, and whole different mindset. It can hit anybody at any time. It can sneak up on you before you know it, and that's what it did to me.
A couple things, and then we'll wrap up here. I was reading, Leroy Butler said this about you. He said that Brett was the best teammate, in my opinion, ever, and probably in all of sports, because nothing bothered him, especially not color, especially not a guy's religion or sexuality or anything like that. Here's another one. This is from Mike Holmgren. It said about you, there are a lot of fabulous quarterbacks, but not everyone has the locker room like Brett did. All of his teammates loved him. Now, he was a knucklehead sometimes with me, but they loved him, and they played hard for him. he had so much fun playing. And so you hear those two things, you know, you can make all the millions and win all the championships, but man, to hear those kind of things and respect as a person, they got to be really something special to you.
Well, to me, that's what, you know, I never tried to be something I wasn't. I missed a team picture as a rookie. You know, I mean, I was a knucklehead. You live and learn from things, but really, you know, for me, it all came down to I loved playing. That's what I grew up doing. I love my teammates and love competing with them, competing against them, the battle part of it. But at the end of the day, I was just doing what I loved, and people appreciated it. It wasn't pretty all the time, I can assure you of that, but very few people complete their first pass to themselves. You know, I mean, I've done just about everything, and very thankful. I played way longer than I ever thought I would. And that's the other thing, you know, I would sit at the breakfast table with guys in training camp, new guys, and I would hear them talking. I'm playing 8 years, I'm playing 10. And like the next year, you're like, where'd that guy go? When you start trying to dictate how you're going to play and where you're going to play and how long you're going to play, rather than whatever happened. And I was happy to be a part of any team, especially when I got to play, and was fortunate to play with some great guys like K. Jack and Terrell, Leroy, played with some great coaches. So, you know, I no regrets.
Last thing, you know, so many people respect you. You know, here at the Touchdown Club, you know, we'll bring in all kind of folks, and you know, sometimes somebody will say something about it. And one of the things I say is that, you know, we bring people in, we bring players and coaches, whatever, and let our people decide how they feel. Does it bother you that when, you know, in this world of social media, when people judge you and say the kind of person you are, that have never met you, don't know the circumstances, does that bother you, or does it bother your family? Do you let that either?
It bothers my girls. But, you know, I mean, it's a different time we're living in, and I think we all can agree with that. That's about the only thing we can agree with. And it's really sad. A lot of the younger folks base their worth off of how many likes they get on social media, and that's certainly wrong. I mean, we grew up in a time, you and I, K-Jack, most people out here, where there were no cell phones. And we often wonder, how in the hell did we get by? We got by pretty good. We manufacture our own fun. You know, it's really more upsetting to my girls. Look, not everybody's going to like me, and that's fine. I try to, you know, do the best I can, but I'm not going to be something I'm not. And you know, and I don't get on social media to see how many people like whatever. If you like me, great. If you don't, so be it. But I'm just going to keep being me.
Do you wish you could have played in the NIL era?
No. Honestly, I don't, because it worked out pretty good for me. Southern Miss didn't give me a dime. They didn't have a dime. But I think about the NIL and what it would have been like had I, you know, been in that era and would have been popular. You know, the way it worked out for me, no one was going to offer me money. But that's good, because I went to the one place that worked best for me. I got to play pretty much right away. And now maybe that's not the case somewhere else. And the NIL, I mean, you got players making more than the coach. You know, a coach says, hey, get your butt, you need to get in there and start studying. He's like, I make more money than you. You know, I'm not saying that happens. I'm saying that could happen. And I don't know if that's good for college sports unless they regulate it. And I'm not smart enough to figure out how they do that. But I think, you know, the Southern Misses that were competitive when I was there will have a hard time competing with with any of the bigger schools these days. I mean, beating Alabama and Auburn and Florida State. I don't see that happening anytime soon, sadly.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest in the history of football. Let's give it up for Brett Favre, everybody.
Thank you.
Great job, Brett.
Thank you very much.
We're going to do a few pictures with Brett. He's got about 20 minutes. Sponsors first, 50-yard line members second. No autographs, no selfies, no phones, just our photographers. Sponsors first, you have to have the tag. Yep.